see what KC Joyner, NFL Insider, thinks. I'm sure watch this tape, watch this game, and has some breakdown for us on what happened with that Eagles team yesterday. KC, you know, they're coming out from all angles. It's Wentz's fault. He doesn't have enough weapons. The injuries are crippling him. The offensive line's a problem. They don't run the ball enough. So where is the middle ground with what we're seeing with this offense?
Hey, it's partially Wentz, of course. You know, he missed some open passes yesterday. But as I'm looking at the tape, I'm going, okay, I see a lot of effort, a lack of effort in the rest of the team. I'm seeing these receivers not running routes very hard. It was consistent the whole game. Watch receivers going, you guys are jogging out there. You're not running. And the offensive line, of course, has the issues. Wentz doesn't trust the offensive line. He gets hit so early, he doesn't trust them, so that's part of it. But I'm looking at the effort level for the offense especially, but on both sides of the ball, that's what I'm seeing. I wouldn't be blaming Wentz on that. I think this is more a coaching issue. They're not getting people to play hard enough.
All right, you know, that's an interesting point because earlier in the show we were talking about, you know, that throw late in the game that Wentz misses J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. It's a fourth down. He throws it behind him. Now, we had seen some tape out there that suggests that's not on Wentz as much as because the receiver's kind of hopping along. He's not sitting in the spot. So you sound like you think that the receivers' lack of detail and their, you know, sloppy routes had more to do with Wentz's play than Wentz really being bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Go look at the Matthews interception in the fourth quarter. Now, mind you, not a good pass, okay? But it's cover two, so you got the cornerback dropping back 5, 6, 7 yards, and you got the safety back. So you got a window between those two, and you got to lob it up there. But if you watch Matthews, he gets released to the outside, and at first, you know, very beginning of the route, he's running full speed. And then as he gets released, I don't know what it is. He thinks, well, they're not going to throw it to me because they're not going to get this window. He slows down for maybe 2 or 3 steps, and then he sees the ball in the air and tries to go back to the spot. And, of course, he can't get there in time. But if he's there, maybe he breaks up the interception. Maybe he can outfight the guy for the ball. But doing what he did, he was just sitting there and watch mode for a couple, 3 steps. And I'm looking at that going, that's going to get blamed on Wentz. That's not Wentz's fault. The pass is not accurate, but listen, the receivers got to help too, and that's a lot more on Matthews than it was on Wentz.
So is it fair to say that potentially, look, if he's got his full component of players, do we see this Wentz?
If we have the receivers going at full speed, if you guys I mean, these are guys with, like, you guys are borderline NFL players anyway. I would think, like Matthews, so, hey, look, you've been bouncing around the league. This might be why. Maybe if you'd get off your tail and actually run hard on every route, you might get to keep a job for a little bit longer because this is part of the reason why. So I'm looking at that going, I don't understand the players, why they don't have that motivation level. And if I'm the coach, maybe this is just the last guy that you've got and you're just going to have to get what you can get. But at the same time, you need to do something to get them fired up and play harder than that because if they're not going to play hard and they're not talented, Wentz can't stop them.
Casey, what are your thoughts on the play calling yesterday? Because you look at the run-pass to ratio, you have Carson throwing 45 times, only ran it, I think, 16. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And on the other side, you have balance. Seattle, 26-25, I believe it was, pass to run.
I can't understand. I can understand why we talked on last week about they should go after the tight end, or they should go to the tight ends because Seahawks don't cover tight ends well. And I believe the tight ends were 19 of 22, but you're only getting 6.4 yards per attempt, I believe it was. It's not a very good number. So I get it. It's a dink and dunk. There's nothing he's throwing vertical, though. And they realized early on. I liked early on where they realized they were running man routes, and Seattle's just clamping down on the man routes, and they said, okay, we're going to start doing things to try and create some separation between them. But that was all dink and dunk routes. They're all doing, you know, little crosser routes to make, you know, to get people open. They're doing nothing vertical. But every time I'm thinking about what's the play call there, I'm watching the receivers, and you don't have the coaching film yet. It's not up on Game Pass yet, so I can't see the coaching film. But as far as you could see it from the game footage, the receivers are, again, just as when they're getting to 10, 15 yards downfield, most of the time, either the defense is just sitting over the top and taking them out of the route, or I'm looking at them going, your effort level is not going to get you open. So I'm like, the only thing Carson can do is throw the underneath guy because that's what the defense is giving him, and he's not getting enough effort level. Plus, you add the wind in your hand and the pass block, and you add all of it together, and Carson just didn't think he could go downfield.
What about the offensive line? Was it as bad as some people are making them out to be, or was it maybe a little bit better because you have Brooks leaving the game a little bit early, and then we already know about Lane Johnson and the other issues that unit has been dealing with?
I didn't. Sayamalo has his couple of plays as he usually does. So, and I thought that Kelsey did a good game, but Dillard's the worst. And that one play, the fumble play, where it would be what I would term it's a roll draw, but they were doing like a counter offense where the quarterback does a little half roll and they hinge to the running back coming back across, and it's kind of a buck play of sorts. And Seahawks have three guys rushing, and then the linebacker Griffin, he rushes too. And here's Dillard. I watched the tape like 5 times. I watched the full play to make sure. Let me see exactly when he actually makes contact. He lets Griffin get 6 yards upfield before he even makes contact. I'm like, this is a linebacker. You're 6'5", 310. You should be making contact with this linebacker on a rush. And by the way, also, he just dropped straight back. Dillard did. Literally a straight line back. He didn't try and push the guy outward so what ended up happening was Griffin gets up to where the point of the handoff is supposed to happen. Sanders sees it coming, so he knows I need to adjust a little bit back because, hey, this linebacker's going to get up here. But Wentz can't see it, so Wentz just goes to where he's supposed to go. They run into each other. It's that fumble. And I'm looking at it going, Dillard, if nothing else, you're 6'5", 310. At least use your size, because if you just drop back 6 yards and let him get upfield, this play's not going to work. So that's bad coaching and bad play.
KC Joyner, NFL Insider here, looking at the tape of the Eagles' loss. And a lot of it's on offense because the defense played pretty well, played well enough to win the game again. Let me ask you this. They got 5 games left. Is there stuff that is correctable? Is there stuff that this team can do? Is it as simple as, hey, you get Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, Nelson Aguilar, Jordan Howard. I mean, that's a lot of guys, by the way, and I'm not even getting to Alshon. You get those guys back, and yes, they got 5 winnable games. Miami, Washington, 2 against the Giants, and then, of course, the big one against the Cowboys. Is it as simple as getting healthy, or does this team have other issues?
It's partially healthy. Healthy is obviously going to help them in a number of ways. I mean, Wentz, how bad is his hand injury? That's a big question mark. Having said that, I'm looking we keep talking about their offense making mistakes and things and correctable errors. Defense, same thing on the flea flicker play. They realized that Philadelphia's biting hard on play action fakes, and they realized that Bradham was going to really hard on that fake, and then he got way out of position, and that was one big thing. And on the big running plays, both times it was Barnett on one play biting too hard on a fake, and another play McLeod is supposed to come up and he can make a tackle on a very good trap play. But all these you just keep seeing these errors. Like, okay, that looks like a coaching issue. Okay, you didn't come up to attack up very well. That's a technique issue, which also probably relates to coaching. And then Darby goes downfield on that 58-yard touchdown run. He just kind of gives the running back a shove rather than that. I'm looking at it going, it reminds me of something that the Patriots said in that Do Your Job series, where one of their coaches, I think it was Patricia, said that the Patriots, when it gets later in the year, they concentrate even harder on coaching fundamentals and doing things like pad levels and things like that right, because they know that over the course of the season that levels off. I'm seeing it level off of the Eagles, and if they don't do those coaching issues and start to fix those problems, getting the talent back is going to help some, but it won't be enough.
All right, but they do play Miami, the Giants twice, and Washington. Is it enough to get through those games, I hope?
Again, I think you got to. Well, obviously, you got to beat Dallas, and I think you have to go. I think 4-1 might not do it. They may have to run the table.
I think they got to win out. I think they got to win out. Well, they got the game with Dallas, and Dallas has their record. The Eagles, I think, have the easiest schedule left in the league. Dallas's record is 26-28. The opponents there. So if Dallas loses a game or two, I feel like Philly's going to have to win out to get there, but their schedule kind of sets up for them to be able to do it, and they have the team directly in front of them in Dallas. But that game's 3 weeks from now. They have 3 weeks to play Miami, New York, and Washington to get their act together, right?
They do, and mind you, those teams are talent bereft. The Dolphins just put their 2 safeties on IR last week, the starting safeties, and they had a starting cornerback out, so they're down to 5th and 6th stringers in their secondary. If the Eagles can't hit passes against those guys, they don't deserve to make the playoffs. So, yeah, I think the schedule does set up for them to be able to do it.
All right, one thought every game. Here we go. Starting with tonight, got a good one. It is Baltimore and the Rams. Rams at home. Now, Baltimore, obviously, they're the new hot flavor of the week right now. Everybody loves Baltimore. So is this one of those games where they got to travel across the country that worries you, or is Baltimore legit enough to win on the road?
Baltimore's legit, but Wade Phillips is very good at coming up with things to stop creative offenses. So I think he may throw some things at them that they've not seen. Having said that, Baltimore does so many things well on offense, and the Rams are not that great on defense, and the Ravens' defense is playing that well. I still think they'll win, but this may be the beginning of teams starting to figure them out.
All right, let's look at the games. One thought on each game that happened. What happened to Atlanta? I mean, they were playing so well. They're at home. We said, all right, Atlanta looks like they're turning the corner, and then they get blitzed by Tampa.
I cannot figure that team out. I will say this, though. Tampa is always aggressive. They're always trying to hit big plays. That's who they are. It's Arians. That's just who they are. And I think that Atlanta just doesn't keep up that intensity level. And I think Tampa came in there and went after them, and they just weren't ready for it, which you would be surprised to. But they had 2 straight weeks where they were playing a lot of intense games. Maybe they just ran out of gas.
Does Buffalo impress us enough to make us feel like that is a playoff team with their 20-3 win over Denver?
Yep, I know the offense didn't get as much done as they would like to get done, but Denver's defense is a solid defense that's been playing a lot better of late, and Buffalo just shut them down like you'd expect them to. It's a couple weeks in a row now where we're saying Buffalo should win by a couple touchdowns against these bad teams, and they're doing it. So I still have to be on their bandwagon.
All right, they play Dallas coming up here. Buffalo does. Should be interesting. New York and Chicago, the Bears kind of squeaked by the Giants there. That was an ugly game, 19-14. 2 teams not going to go to the playoffs, but Chicago's offense has all sorts of problems. And, of course, Philly plays New York twice.
Yeah, and the Giants, mind you, the Giants are developing the type of team they want to be, but they just have a lot of problems. I think Barkley's banged up, too, and he's not nearly what they need him to be, so they need an alternate in case he does get banged up. I think Chicago does enough to win, but you still get Trubisky, and they did well in the second half, and I'm still looking at him going, this is not the answer. Something's not right there, and I think Chicago's going to clean house.
All right, Pittsburgh gets by. They made a quarterback change in the game. Cincinnati, by the way, has decided to go back to Andy Dalton for the rest of the season. They saw enough of that. They might not win a game this year, but Pittsburgh gets one on the road. It was ugly, but they're still, right now, Pittsburgh would be in the playoffs if they started today.
I have bashed Tomlin over the years for having his teams Tomlin. They didn't Tomlin yesterday. They just had problems, especially in the last couple weeks. He keeps trying to solve the problems that they have, saying, look, if Rudolph isn't doing it, I'm going to put Duck in there. He keeps doing a lot of different things, come up with a lot of creative solutions to take care of the problems they have on offense. So right now he's done a fantastic job. That bodes well for Pittsburgh to make the playoffs.
All right, Miami and Cleveland. Philly plays Miami next week. You just talked about their problems. But Cleveland, are they getting hot at the right time?
They are, but again, you've got a team that put both the starting safeties on IR, and already, look, the Dolphins, I talk about red, green, and yellow players in the secondary things. All 5 of the Dolphins cover players yesterday were green-rated players. They got backups all over the place. That same game said more about how bad the Dolphins are and how good the Browns are. I'm still not convinced on the Browns.
This game was a head-scratcher. We thought on Friday that Carolina was leaking oil. If they make a kick, they might have won that game in New Orleans. What's going on with the Saints?
The Saints' defense, it's been said about their defense that when they want to play well, they play well. And I think they saw Carolina's struggles and said, okay, well, maybe we don't have to play as hard, which is difficult to believe. It's a divisional foe, so you'd think you'd step up. But looking at them yesterday, it was one of those games where they said, hey, we just don't have to play that hard. That could be an Achilles heel when they get to the playoffs, because if they have just one bad game, you're out.
All right, let's go to this game was unbelievable. Oakland travels across the country to play the Jets, and the Jets wax them 34-3 just when we wanted to believe in the Raiders.
I had them top third of the league, right near the top 10 things, and then they do this. And that Carr got benched. But they put Glennon in there and said, we don't believe it. You keep all the time when we were hearing Gruden talk about Carr and things over the last little bit, it's been like, you'd think he doesn't believe in Carr, and he's just looking for a reason not to. And if the coach doesn't believe in the quarterback, eventually the rest of the team's going to get there. So I think this is a really tough thing for Oakland. By the way, the Jets, though, at Darnold is the real deal, and he's going to keep getting better. And if they give him and Gase time, they'll get that thing turned around.
315 yards for Darnold. They win 34-3. Let's go to Detroit, Washington, where the Redskins get a victory. This thing has fallen off the rails for Detroit. They look like they were becoming a competent team, and all of a sudden they're back in the dregs in Washington. You lose to Washington, for God's sakes.
Yeah, it's losing to Washington. They've always had trouble against Washington at Washington, historically speaking, but Washington has a terrible run defense. They've got all kinds of issues in the secondary, and I know Driscoll's not a great player, but look, he's got Jones, he's got Galladay, he's got people to go after that secondary. And they had Scarborough, too, so you add all that together, and you go, wow, that should be a big game for them, but obviously, whatever Patricia's trying to do, it isn't working. And there's even rumors that he was taking over the play call from Pasqualoni. So I think there are some big problems in Detroit.
All right, go to Jacksonville, Tennessee. The Titans, all of a sudden, they're looking legit. Nick Foles, there's people that want to go back to Gardner Minshew out there. Derrick Henry's been awesome, and the Titans, with a win, they're still in the playoff mix.
If Derrick Henry could run against Jacksonville every week at home, he'd get 3,000 yards. I mean... It's incredible what he does against the Jacksonville. This doesn't want anything to do with him. And that's a big problem for Jacksonville, is that their team is an emotional team, and their team has to play with a certain fire to them, and they want to play a physical brand of football. When a team like Tennessee can walk in there and punch them right in the nose like few other teams can, I think I would say fold their tent, but they don't play anywhere near as well. And I couldn't agree more that maybe they need to go back to Minshew. That Minshew gave their offense a certain energy that just didn't have with Foles in there.
All right, big one here. New England fights and claws, and Dallas, this one comes down to me coaching. I mean, Garrett just got absolutely undressed because New England's got nothing to offer you, but Dallas got nothing to fire back at you here. You wonder if it's coming to an end for Garrett there, but this game here was a winnable game for the Dallas Cowboys.
It was, and you hear Belichick after the game say that Dallas did good in situational football, and I know he's trying to be – he's not going to say anything bad about another coach and things. He's probably trying to help Garrett out a bit. But look, when the announcer, when Troy Aikman is saying that, hey, that kick returner should be at the 10-yard line, and the kick returner is at the goal line, and then the ball jumps, falls in front of him at the 10-yard line, exactly like the announcer. So look at the announcer seeing it, and the coach isn't seeing it, and you're getting down and not going for it on fourth down and kicking field goals and all the different things. There's a myriad of elements. But when you have all those things happening, other people can see it that easily. Yeah, I think it might be time for coaching change.
All right, and then of course last night. I've been a big 49er guy. They disappointed me, but I didn't bail on them. And last night showed us why.
Yeah, and Green Bay can't. Their problem is run defense. I know their pass defense is good, but San Francisco showed that's fine. If you can't handle the run defense against the 49ers, if you can't play run defense against them, they will do this to you all the time. So there's a lot of teams in the NFC playoff hunt that will be able to slow down San Francisco. If they see Green Bay again, this will happen again because Green Bay has not figured out how to stop the run pretty much at all this year.
I haven't been big on Green Bay. I'm not overly impressed with Green Bay. San Francisco I like, and you saw that game last night end up the way that it did. San Francisco wins 37-8. And, of course, it's a short week this week. We'll have to figure out when we're going to talk to Casey again, probably on Wednesday, if that's all works for you. We'll look at the Thanksgiving Day games, and then, of course, Eagles and the Dolphins, and what else is happening, of course, with Dallas, because that's where you're really going to have to keep an eye on Philly and Dallas the rest of the way here. And, of course, KC Joyner, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Casey, hopefully Wednesday. Wednesday work?
Wednesday works.
Wednesday, we'll pencil you back in. We'll talk to you then, pal.
Appreciate it.